Hey everybody on YouTube, I just changed my mic out, so let me know how you guys like this one. Hopefully this is a lot better setting. So this is Uzo, Make Money in Africa, and you guys saw the title of the video. It's gonna have something to do, I'm not exactly sure with that. I know the subject, I'm not sure how I'm gonna word it in a way to catches people's attention, but either way, see, this is how we're gonna talk about making money while there is still corruption on the continent. Okay, this is what this is. You got President Ruto spending money up the yazoo, right? Other people's money, because it's the taxpayers' money. You got other presidents that do that. And remember, a politician is a public servant, not a leader. Many people in Africa say that politicians are leaders, but that's separate. I have my own personal views when it comes down to, and people know that on all of my other platforms, when it comes down to these politicians and everything and the corruption. We're not going to talk about that right now. We're going to point out, when I saw this on Africa Stream, shout out to them for putting this out. And some of the content I like, a lot of the content I do not like, because Africa should stand for Africa, not for some of these nations that's having conflict on what was formerly called Africa, but now the Middle East. You guys get what I'm talking about. Hey, they need to stand on their own, because at every chance they were given, they're kind of showing their anti-black racist cards, at least in the United States, on both of those sides. The ones that's fighting in that fake country, yeah, both of them has showed their teeth of anti-black racism. But anyway, so it says here, it says Kenya's high-flying president, William Ruto, has defended the use of a private jet. He reckons it was the cheapest option for his state visit to the United States, despite costing his taxpayers 1.5 million US dollars. Now, I'm going to get how this is going to make you money, because that's what these videos here are for. This channel is talking about make money in Africa, okay? Now, many people complain about to the politicians and everything, and they're not really fighting back against them. You know what the number one way to fight back against the politicians, other than when you amass numbers, you know, the number one, or one of the major ways you can fight back against it, let's not say number one, but one of the major ways, the top ways, is to build yourself up economically. You start where you are, then you start to build up the people around you. Then those people build up the people around them. And once you have a financial voice that's there, remember, these politicians are really kind of listening to the money too. But that's why they are there. They are serving other places that have more money right now and a military behind them. But think about how China has built themselves up. They built themselves up with money. Now they're building themselves up with military. They are accelerating that on a huge aspect so that they can now protect themselves. They built themselves up with money. They got themselves around, you know, the nukes and everything like that, so they can make sure that's a deterrent. But then they started to focus on now the actual military on the ground people. Okay, so we build ourselves up with money, and that's what we can do. Now, you can still fight corruption and all of that while without having money, but this channel is talking about the money aspect. Now, and he insists, I continue now. So $1.5 million just for the private jet. Okay. Now, long story short, he's talking about the Kenya Airways, saying that it would have been more pricey. Let's go down here. Well, hasn't taken long for people to call him out. Nice. One calculation said Ruto and four of his top officials could have booked the first class return ticket on the national carrier for $4,500 each. That would have come out to $22,500 if you add him plus 4 people. Okay, he could have put the rest of his 30 plus entourage in economy for $1,300 each. Obviously, this is just using some calculations. How come all of them couldn't be on first class? I don't know, whatever. Making a grand total of $60,000, throwing a hotel bill of $600 per person for 3 nights. Hey, some of these hotels are more than that, especially with where they probably would want to stay. Although, if you think about it, many of the hotels are a lot cheaper than that. But for security and all of those purposes, probably going to something like that. Okay, great. All right. And the total price of his state visit could have been around $80,000. I could have seen that if he wanted to splurge out and have everybody in first class, you know, on different flights and all of that stuff, that probably would have been like $260,000, $300,000. Okay, cool. Much cheaper than just the private jet. Ruto insists his extravagant spending sprees meets with his determination for us to live within our means. Interesting. All this while announcing tax hikes. Geez, can he not see why people are angry? Of course he does. Now, here's it in pictures. Ruto, private jet cheapest option. Then they got this picture of him. Kenya's president claims spending 1.5 million US dollars on private jet is cheaper than using Kenya Airways. All right. Ruto posted on X, it was in keeping with my determination for us to live within our means. Okay, great. You know, politicians always say these weird things that don't make sense in reality. Calculations show his entourage could have flown on national carrier, blah, 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 80,000. Critics say Ruto's extravagant U.S. state visit flies in the face of government's Buy Kenya, Build Kenya strategy. Now, I will say this thing here. I said as soon as he got elected that every $1 that Kenyans get from his being there and the business that he brings into the country, it's going to be between $3 and $7 for anybody else. Indians, Chinese, white people, all of that, right? Hey, you can change that if you get on top of what I'm about to say. Now, they said he has spent 10 million US dollars on 50 plus foreign trips since 2022. Now, here's something that I've noticed. He likes to wear expensive. Here's the money aspect. Let's keep him on the screen for just a moment. He likes to wear expensive suits. Likes to wear a nice watch, shoes. He's already spent that money. A belt, and all of these other things that people complain about. But from the business aspect, and remember, he's in Kenya a lot of times. He's meeting with President Musevini of Uganda. He's having things that if he's going to splurge up the budget and he's going to do these things, okay, on the one hand, you're like, man, I'm going to do this thing. But on the other hand, how come you're not one of the businesses selling to him? Isn't he, and I just told someone this, isn't he eating food? Do you think he's going over budget with his food? How come people are not trying to become government contractors? How come you didn't look up a Kenyan government contract? Many countries, especially in the United States, if you get a government contract, and let's say they have a budget. Let's say in Nairobi, there is a budget over the entire city. Let's just say a budget within restaurants. Let's say it's a restaurant budget. And there are multiple contracts, and they add to, let's say, 10 million US dollar equivalent. I forget how much that is in shillings, but 10 million US dollar. Because they were using US dollars on this, I'm going to keep it there because there's multiple African countries listening, and it's centralized to use that right now. 10 million US dollar budget for the year. Okay. Let's say 12. So $1 million a month. How come you cannot go up to that government office? You can Google it. Government contracts for Kenya. Government contracts for Nigeria. Government contracts for South Africa. Yeah, many times you might not be picked. You know, white people are going to pick their own over in South Africa and so on and so forth. They want to pick out the sellouts among the crowd. But for the chance that you keep showing up and you eventually get picked, governments like the people they're familiar with, that they do good business with. So they'll start to pick you over and over again. And eventually, all you have to do is find the business that already does the thing that the government is looking for. You interviewed the business ahead of time. You already know that you got a high likelihood of being picked again. And now you do a 5% upcharge. You sign a contract with them. You sign the contract and get the bid from the government. And then you do 5% extra. So you take 5% for yourself. Let's say it's $1 million a month. You take 5% of $1 million, because 10% will be 100,000. That's 50,000 US dollars. Let's just say it was just one contract per month, although it's going to be many smaller ones. How come you're not trying to feed Ruto? How come you're not trying to feed his government, his administration? How come you're not trying to clothe them, to sell them colognes and perfumes and body sprays and deodorants? How come you're not there to try to see, okay, they got fuel and all of this stuff is going up. Okay, when inflation goes up, where do people go? What do people start to do? And what do people that have money and that are rich and what are they doing? What do they normally do during these times? Because just because it's a depression, just because they're suffering and everybody else that does that, doesn't mean that you have to participate in that game. Get me? You don't have to participate in the pandemic. You don't have to do that. All right? Okay, hold on. There's something going on here. Headphones. Just making sure that my audio is there. I forgot I didn't have them in. But yeah, you don't have to participate in that situation. So this video is about everybody here listening. And it's going to dovetail on something else. I'm going to put this on the screen as well. I'm going to put these two AI generated images, or these two individuals that are AI generated, on the screen. All right. Now, what they're doing is they're trying to figure things out. This man of the house in his AI world, he's trying to figure things out in an AI simulated version of Kenya. All right. And the woman be with him. She's trying to figure things out and help him figure things out. And they're like, man, what the heck do I do? They came around my video in their virtual land and said, hey, we got a virtual Kenya here. It should be about the same because it's simulating real life. Why don't we go and we use the virtual Google? And then we look up the government contracts, look up that, start emailing people, start to do these things. We look down a list. Hey, you know what? Hey, wife, are you good with cooking? Okay, you can't do virtual cooking. What are you good with? Can you learn something very quick that would be effective that you can do that's here, that we got a skill set for all of these contract jobs that they got? They got so many, from construction to like the green energy, so-called green energy, all types of infrastructure projects. Maybe they have a park that they want to build. Maybe they have things and roads and bridges that they want to build. There are so many different options that you can look, from Ethiopia to Kenya, to Uganda, to South Africa, to the DRC, all over the place. Different places have different budgets. And like I said, in many countries, if they don't use the budget, guess what? The next year, the budget shrinks. So these governments are actually incentivized to waste money. You didn't know that, did you? Particularly, especially in the United States, because they could just make currency out of thin air. Many of the European countries do the same thing. Maybe it's a little bit different. You got to go country by country. All right, country by country when it comes to African nations. But for the most part, whatever the budget is, let's say it was that 12 million. If they don't finish that 12 million, oh my goodness, tongue twister. And it is instead they get to 10.1 million. Then the next year, they lose that extra almost 2 million. That 1.9 million for that restaurant budget, gone. That's how these governments operate. So you need to figure out a way to take advantage of that government money where they pay you, and they pay you relatively quickly. Obviously, different countries are going to have different payment schedules. But that is one of the ways you could do there. You got an IT skill, you got UX, UI, UX. How come you don't do that with them? If you look at what the governments spend their money on, there are actually some governments that spend money on, it's a term of like watching certain animals reproduce and have sex. It is very weird. Yeah, it's very weird. I saw that particularly in the US government, where they had like something watching. It was weird. I was just like, what the heck? I started looking. I copied, looked it up, and I said, what is this? I didn't even want to look any further. Once I knew what the definition of that word was, or that term was, I was like, yeah, I'm not going to look any further. I don't want to see it, because it was like $30,000 spent on that. And I was like, dang. But they're trying to figure out how to essentially waste, quote unquote, waste the budget on something because it wasn't being used, and they need that money to be there. I found it out at universities. Many times there are scholarships and grants that go out, but because that's part of the government, right? It's part of the government, especially the public ones, not the private ones, but the public ones. They have budgets that go out, but many times students Do not go to the dean. Do not go to their those people like the chancellors or anything until they get in trouble. And then they tell me, I've heard it so many times, but Nick, in my country, we can't do that over here. Yeah, why? Did you even try? No. Oh, then you don't know what you don't freaking try. Now, people will tell you, well, you can't judge me. I'm finna smoke this. You don't know it's bad until you try it. But when it's coming to something productive, they're going to stand in front of the door like I saw the other day in this woman with these automatic doors. She was looking on her phone. It was a holiday. She stepped close, but not close enough to activate the door. And she stopped and another man stopped. And then there were like 7 or 8 people that stopped there. They did not go any further. I said, wait a minute, this place is supposed to be open. This market's supposed to be open. What's going on? And I see all the cars parked in the parking lot. They are there. And I said, nah, something don't seem right, before I was able to get out of my vehicle and then walk up to see and test the door out. Because at first I just rolled up, looked at the time. Okay. I said, no, definitely it should be open. Then somebody else came from the inside. They all asked. They were like, is it open? Is it open? The person was like, man, this question's so dumb. Obviously it's open. I'm coming out. They didn't even bother looking up or at the people asking them, asking her the dumb question. She just walked straight past him. You could tell she knew, because she just had that one look where it's like, yeah, I'm purposely not trying to make no eye contact. I'm walking. That's the power of your environment. Many people don't walk through that door. They don't go to their dean when they're at the university. They don't try to go to the counselor or anything. Number one, they don't got a good thought process that you can go even going up. But hey, you don't know that you don't have a good one until you at least try. They're going to ask the reason. You know what? A good enough reason is, hey, my name is X, Y, and Z, and I just want to say thank you to the chancellor, and I want to meet the chancellor just to have a short conversation in his or her busy schedule. I just want to introduce myself and say hi, blah. If they don't want to establish one, you know what you could do? You could wait outside the chancellor's building or office. They have to eat, poop, sleep, and travel too. They got work hours. Why don't you get there early, stay there late, catch them in and out of the door? You so many different ways to tackle this, let's quote, problem. That's what you could do at a university, to start finding different things out when you didn't know when you were at university. Now, you could do the same thing in real life. When I went to different countries, I'm going to tell y'all a secret. When I was in Chicago, they have a Chicago Stock Exchange. Now, many people know that I'm involved in crypto. I held up a sign with my name. Well, actually, it didn't have my name. Well, or did it? Well, what I did know is that it had my number. I had a phone number on there. I stood up because you can't do it on their property, but I was across the street. I stood up all freaking day. I said, I will teach. It said, I teach you. I didn't have that much. It's like, you know how like a beggar on the street or a homeless person, they'll have a cardboard sign and it said, please help, please need food, need money for rent, something like that. Well, I took that idea. I had a cardboard that said, I teach you trade or trading, one of the two. What was it? 20,000 to 500,000. Let's just say there. It was somewhere around like some relatively smaller amount to somewhere in a few 100,000. It could have been 20,000 to like 200,000, 500,000. That would have been somewhere around there, right? Then I had my phone number. Call, text. You didn't have that much room. It didn't have to be grammatically correct. Because think about it. If you want people to eat at your restaurant and you're at a beach, you say food here. Bam. Food and drink. Food, drink. There you go. Food/drink arrow. Bam. That's all you need. Because the people at a drink at a beach, they don't know. They need some food. You're there. They know they need some food. Food/drink arrow. Or even saying arrow here, depending on how much room you got on the sign. That's what I did. Now, there were people that took a picture of me. Now, unfortunately for me, I didn't keep going day after day. I had got some small effect, and there were 2 people that hired me. $5,000 each. Two people that hired me. Now, had I kept going day after day, I remember there were people that drove out with regular cars. There was a few people that had very expensive cars. I don't want to lie about it, but in my head, I keep thinking like, no, it wasn't any Lamborghinis that I could see, but maybe there were some Corvettes or something. Those aren't really super expensive, but Corvette sports cars and things like that. The point that I'm saying here is not about me. It's about what you can do. It's about you innovating. It's about you using your brain to think. I was broke as a joke at that moment. I had enough money to go from where I was, and I drove over a state and a half. Took a few hours. I went to Chicago, and I stood in front. I remember the feeling. I was like, man, I remember how I was feeling pretty bad on the inside earlier, but I made sure I stepped up and had my high energy on at that moment, had my high energy on thinking about how I'm going to help somebody else. And by helping them, I'm going to make some money. Because I know I'm pretty good at teaching. I know I have education that I can give out to somebody that they can help then formulate their own decisions and make money. I know that. What is something that you have that's a skill set that you can give out to somebody else? Whether you're teaching them, whether you're cooking, whether you are making clothes, whether you are the person that can put together the people that make the clothes and you get the contract and you're good at doing that. You're the person to get the contract to get all of the people to make an app where you didn't have to pay them, but you got them together saying, hey, this is what we're going to do. A, B, C, X, Y, D. Now, I can teach you exactly how to do that specifically and get the outcomes that you want, which is money. Before I go into detail about that, the purpose of this channel, I'm going to tell you guys, is to get at least 100,000 Africans, 100,000 black people in Africa. Now, there's going to be other people, non-black people in Africa. Hey, you know what? More power to you. If you're in there, in this, what I'm about to say, that's just fine too. But my particular goal is to get 100,000 Africans all together so that we have an email list and you're able to spend, or dare I say invest, 1,000 to 10,000 US dollars monthly, and it won't hurt you. It won't hurt your family. Either that's you as an individual or you as a business. But still, if you own the business as a single person business, that's what I'm looking for. 100,000. Do you understand? 100,000. You can make money off of these corrupt politicians. You can make money off of the illegal immigration. You can make money off of these situations. Some of it's going to be short term and temporary, and you must realize what it is and what it's for. There is money available. If you're not doing anything underhanded or whatever like that, hey man, get it how you get it. Don't sell out your people. Don't scam them. You don't have to do any of that. You could provide a fair, equitable service that's a win-win. You sell to the rich people, you sell to governments, you sell to people that got big businesses so that you can get a better price than if you sold to the masses because you don't have a big audience. Imagine me trying to sell something, which you're about to hear that message in a second, and I need to depend on that or else I can't keep it up for the next month. No. If I don't have an extremely large audience, it's not going to work. But I want that on an email list so that if and when I were to say, hey, guys, let's put our brain together. Let's start thinking about what other businesses we can start that benefits the rest of Africa. Or let's go ahead and buy up a section of this country so that we can build some roads that lead to these businesses and so on and so forth. Or let's invest in having some family daycares, as that's going to be a need at some point as Africa industrializes and more people start to go to work. I still say that the family unit and the children staying with their parents as long as possible when they're younger instead of daycares is much better. But because there will be a need and there already is a need and that's being served by some people, we could be doing things like that. Laundromats where people need to wash their clothes because they are more busy with their time. They say, hey, we're going to spend a few dollars with you to save a few hours with us while I go think of something else. You're washing the clothes for me. See, when we start to get to that level, we can just snap a finger and we got things. I could then make sure there's a sponsor that's a win-win. If we partner with the bank and then they are able to do special things with you guys because there are so many of you. That's what I want to do. And if you're here and along with that journey, I want you to subscribe to the channel. And at some point, I'm going to develop that email list. I probably should just do that now after I get off of this video. Now, if you want to get to that level, there's a group that I have. It's on Discord. Many people can't afford the large crypto coaching that I have. It's $40,000. I'm not trying to sell it to you. That's why I'm telling you the price. $40,000 for 2 hours at the current moment of this recording for 2 hours of coaching. Not financial advice for those people, but it is education. If you want to be able to get to the level where 1,000 or 10,000 US dollars per month will not hurt you, you can join our Discord group. It's $30 US a month. And my goal there is to make sure that, number one, the primary thing is that everybody that joins there, I know this is impossible because there's not going to be everybody of anything, right? But my goal is to get as many people as possible. Everybody is ideal to at least earn back the $30 per month because of what they learned in there. You could apply it immediately to pay for that so that you're not losing money. At worst case, you're breaking even. Secondary goal is to get those people that I just mentioned, 1,000 to 10,000. If it's 100,000, that's 1.2 billion US dollars per year of power, economic power that we have collectively. If you want to be on that journey, go ahead, subscribe, look at the comment below. But you can make money off of this government. You don't have to allow the corruption to just fester and you're not profiting from it. There are the wives of these politicians that still need clothes. You can go up to the husband, send them an email. Hey, you know what? I noticed that your wife, she looks very nice, blah, blah, blah. Saw her here, so on and so forth. She may love the smell of XYZ perfume. Wow, I didn't think of that. No, you didn't. And again, you can apply this right now. I'll catch you guys on the next video. I was going to do something, but that's going to be in the future video. I was going to talk about why people are broke and struggling. I recorded that already. I didn't have this mic. I really like how my voice sounds on this one. So I'm going to keep this one and then re-record that one and then upload that afterward. I will catch you all on the next video. Until next time, this has been Uzo. Make money in Africa. Peace.